Boys and girls, have you ever wondered where heaven is or how we get there? Well, let's find out. One day it was time for Elijah the prophet to be taken up to heaven, and God had arranged something very special for Elijah. He was going to go up to heaven in a whirlwind. In fact, Elijah wasn't even going to die. He was going to go straight to heaven just as he was. Now, you and I don't get to go to heaven just as we are. We have to die first. But here was Elijah, and he was going straight to heaven. Elijah and Elisha were on their way to cross the River Jordan, and Elisha knew that God was going to take Elijah away that very day. So he stuck close to Elijah. Everywhere Elijah went, he went. When they got to the river, Elijah took off his cloak and struck the water, and the river divided in two, and they walked across on dry ground. And then Elijah asked Elisha, "What can I do for you before I am taken away from you?" And Elisha replied, "I want to inherit a double portion of your spirit." And Elijah said, "It will be yours if you see me when I am being taken away from you." And then suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. And Elisha did indeed see this, and he cried out to Elijah, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." Then Elisha picked up Elijah's cloak and went back to the river. He struck the water with Elijah's cloak, and it divided in two, and he walked across on dry ground. And everyone knew that Elisha was going to take over from Elijah. So, where is heaven? Elijah lived in Israel, the promised land, but Elijah had to leave the promised land to go to heaven. So the promised land was not heaven. And then Elijah had to leave the earth itself, because heaven is not on this earth. Where is heaven? Heaven is where God is. Heaven is described as God's throne and God's house. And though we cannot see heaven, it is a real place, as Elijah shows us, for he was snatched up to heaven. How do we get to heaven? Well, like Elijah, we have to be God's friends. We have to have Jesus as our friend and our Saviour, and he will be our friend and Saviour when we ask him to be our friend and Saviour. And that's all we need for getting to heaven. We need to be the friends of Jesus. Now, we may not get to go up to heaven like Elijah, caught up in a whirlwind and chariots of fire, but we can go there just as surely as he did if we know Jesus. And one last thing. On the last day, when Jesus returns, everyone who knows Jesus will be snatched up to meet him in the air, a little bit like Elijah. So let's be ready to welcome him when he comes by giving our lives to him and serving him today. Thank you.